This is Lady Anne, owner of KPNL Radio and hostess of the Caravan Library of Lore, and I support Tessa. As an experiencer myself, I have filed my own reports with them, and the professionalism and heart they have shown my case goes above and beyond. If you have had an experience, I cannot recommend Tessa enough.
Hi, this is Ernie Hudson, Winston Zedmore from Ghostbusters. I want to let you know that Ryan Stacy, he's created the Experiencer Support Association, TESA. You can check them out at www.tesacan.org. Now, they investigate paranormal, UFO, and provide support to experiencers. But you can check them out at, like I said, www.tesacan.org and see for yourself if they're really Ghostbusters. I can tell you this, they are a non-profit organization. Good luck, have fun, and keep it blessed.
Good evening. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association. Tessa is a UFO, paranormal, and paracryptid investigation association. We investigate everything belonging to the global phenomenon linked to highly strange and unexplained experiences. We also connect experiencers with other experiencers, creating a safe, positive environment to engage and discuss this phenomenon without judgment, criticism, or retribution. From the land of the white rolling sands, on the southeasterly tip of Georgian Bay, to all of you listening around the world, as we simulcast live on KPNL Radio, we salute you. If you want to go back and listen to our previous episodes, go to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be instantly notified when we are live, not only for these episodes, but every single element Tessa has to offer. On our website, tessacan.org, we have something for everyone. We have support for experiencers, data for independent researchers, and places to advertise for professional partners. Sorry about that. I have no idea why that didn't pop up right away. Good evening, everybody. You are watching Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. To Super Chat, click the $sign next to your name in the comment box. All donations go back to the mission. If you're catching this on replay, please consider becoming a member and unlock bonus content, including behind the scenes and extended footage on new project developments and investigations. Just click the big blue button that says join. Today is Thursday, September 16th, 2021, and I, Ryan Stacy, am not your host this evening. Tonight's host is Tim the Demon Guy Morrison. He's also a licensed private investigator, published writer, and an open source exorcist, and one hell of a demonologist. He is the General Operations Manager for Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services and the Experiencer Support Association. Tim, welcome.
Hey, Ryan.
How are you?
Good.
How are you?
This is a different thing to do on a Thursday night.
It's good.
Yeah. Normally I'd be into Netflix and napping, but this is good.
Okay. Well, please don't nap during the show. This is your debut.
I will.
You know,
Yeah,
you want to do real good. And don't forget the icebreaker, because the icebreaker is all mine tonight. All those times.
Yeah.
All those times. Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So our guest for season 3, episode 29 is Lynn Wallington. As a witch with ancestral ties to Salem, Massachusetts, Lynn Wallington lives life amidst the strange and unusual. Her first paranormal experience happened at a young age, where she saw her great-grandmother sitting at the edge of her bed one night, only to find out the next morning that she had passed away. Lynn has also lived with one foot in this world and one in the spirit world. And since that defining moment, she had a fascination with all things paranormal. Her interest in the paranormal and how it affects people led her to get a degree in psychology from the University of Massachusetts. After Lynn graduated, she worked for Harvard Medical School doing research and working with clients who had schizophrenia and other forms of psychosis. In her 30s, Lynn had her first experience with a UFO, and shortly after had an experience with a mantis being. Her interest in the field of ufology was sparked using her own experience and her background in psychology. Lynn worked with FREE, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation, for research into the Extraterrestrial Encounters, where she helped to develop and run the support program for experiencers. In doing so, Lynn had the privileges of talking with hundreds of experiencers, where she helped them come to terms with their encounters. I apologize for my cat in the background. She is running around and being silly. Lynn is also certified as a regression therapist and has worked with experiencers to help recover memories and understand the role these experiences have played in her life. In addition to being on the Spaced Out Radio's roundtable as Spaced Out Radio's resident witch, Lynn is the co-host of the YouTube channel Paranormal Spirits. So Lynn, put on your tinfoil hat. We are about to go down a rabbit hole. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Right on, good. So enjoy the show, everybody. Sit back, and I will be here soon to interrupt for the commercial break. Have fun.
Lynn, we have normally we start the show with an icebreaker that I provide Ryan.
Okay.
It's a question. I don't know what it is. So and that's the demon guy throws stuff at Ryan, so he's done the same to me. Welcome, by the way, Lynn. It's wonderful to have you here. You had me on your show for my first show ever on the internet. So I appreciate you coming here. And here is our question, Lynn.
Oh no.
Okay, Lynn, I'm sorry. I had to read it first. On a scale of 1 to 100, how much better is Ryan's beard compared to Dave Scott's? I was the one.
On that?
Okay. I don't know. I thought he shaved today, but
that's hilarious. Yeah, that's true. So I guess I could answer that. He did look clean shaven. So I would say, since I work with Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott might have this one in the bag. He
wins the beard thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Ryan. That's we'll talk about that later. Lynn, as I said, it's wonderful to have you here. I do tell people that I know a witch in Salem. Okay. And from and that's my very limited knowledge of witches. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'd like to jump right into your bio mentions your first paranormal experience. What direction did you go to become a witch?
Well, I actually
give me the goods.
Well, I've always been interested in spirituality and religions of all kinds. So I've just looked into all of them and studied them. And in my early 20s, I kind of stumbled upon, though, I'm not a huge fan. I don't necessarily believe in coincidences. It's not to say that they don't happen, but I came upon a book that was about a woman's experience of finding out about witchcraft and getting involved in the community and kind of her story. And I read it and was just fascinated by it. And because I hadn't really ever explored that world before. So for me, I mean, I'd grown up with the paranormal, but witchcraft was really something that was pretty foreign to me. So I just, knew the term, but that was pretty much it. Right. And so once I read that, it just really sparked my interest, and I just dove into the deep end.
Yeah. So the psychology degree, mm-hmm. It interests me because you mentioned spirituality and of course paranormal, and I like taking the paranormal and the all the ultra spectrum and all that kind of stuff, and I have to attach some form of reality to it first before I can start looking into it. Mm-hmm. And to me, psychology is the reality, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but to mm-hmm. me, the mental health is number one as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't matter what you're doing, and you need to determine all those factors before you go into any kind of investigation or exorcism, or spell casting or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you tie the two in? Do you like?
Well, I mean, I'm interested equally in both. I find the human mind and human behavior just fascinating. But I also find how we react to things such as the paranormal, or, in my world, the UFOs or aliens or any of that, like kind of, high strangeness, like how we as people react, because everybody has a different reaction to it. And so I find that absolutely fascinating. Now, I have had the two overlap. For example, when I worked with Free and kind of helped develop their support program, one of the roles that I played in that was to speak with people that were calling in looking for a mentor and kind of, I don't want to say vetting them, because I'm certainly never vetting an experiencer, but obviously we want to make sure that there isn't maybe a mental health issue going on or something that would require more help than we could possibly give them. Because the people we had working with them were their peers, they were mentors. So in that sense, I've had to combine the two in some ways, but I just find them I find both worlds equally fascinating, and they definitely overlap, because you never know. There is always a psychological component to it. Even with the very realness of it, there is a psychological component to seeing a spirit. Whether that is, did I actually see something? Am I going to rationalize how I saw something? Did I, see into a different dimension? Did I, like all of those different possibilities involve psychology in some way or another.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That, so do you find it's schizophrenia and bipolar that I'm very familiar with those particular mental health issues. Mm-hmm. How would a witch? How would a witch heal a person with schizophrenia?
This witch would say, go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because that's my background. I would say with something like that, I am very much a believer in medicine. I'm not one of those witches that would completely say, I can heal you, because in reality, a witch can't heal schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a degenerative brain disease. So there's nothing a witch is going to be able to do to heal that. Right. Yeah.
So, just jumping to you're talking about witchcraft. Mm-hmm. One of the other questions I do have is your thoughts on Wicca. Now, is there confusion between the two, witchcraft and Wicca? Then maybe that's a good question. Wicca, I mean, I've just done, in all honesty, I've Googled it. And it's a 20th century thing, but witchcraft itself is much older than that.
Yes.
So I hadn't realized that. So maybe you could.
Yes, I'm so glad that you asked. Yeah. So glad you asked that, because even within the witchcraft and the Wiccan communities, which do overlap, even though there are some differences, they do overlap to a certain extent. There's confusion, even amongst, especially people that are newer in the field. And that's a question that we constantly, we as kind of the older witches have to constantly approach. So the difference is Wicca is a spirituality. It is in essence a religion. In fact, it is recognized as a religion nationally. Witchcraft doesn't have to have any aspect of spirituality to it. It is the practice of working with the natural world, the world around us, the energies around us. So as witches, we believe, and Wiccans believe this as well, that all of us are, we are all energy. We do know that. That is a scientific fact. Everything around us is energy. And so witchcraft, basically, we believe that we can use that energy and harness it with our intent to create whatever outcome it is that we would like to see happen. Now, does that always happen? Of course not. Like example, like you can't cure schizophrenia with witchcraft. Right. It's just not going to happen. But we can certainly put our intent out there. And, in some cases, it is going to make a difference. So witchcraft is simply the craft, the actual act of, let's say, spell casting, to use a term that people will be more familiar with. Spell casting is witchcraft. Wicca would be involving the god, the goddess, the, you might be working with the Sabbats, which are like the witches' kind of holidays, the holy days. Right. The Esbats, which are the different phases of the moon. Now, even though I'm not Wiccan, when I do spell casting, a lot of times I will take the phases of the moon into account. So in that sense, there's that overlap in that we both work with the natural world. And so it is a gray area to a certain extent. But the difference is you don't have to be Wiccan to be a witch, and you don't have to be a witch to be Wiccan. They can be separate, but they can also be combined. And that's where the confusion comes a lot of the time, is because there is so much overlap. Yeah. Well, but the biggest difference is the spirituality.
The spirituality, okay.
Yeah.
Chantel just jumped in with a comment and said, great distinction.
Thanks, Chantel.
Yeah, Chantel, she's our rock star, by the way. She is our administrator at Tessa. And
awesome.
If Chantel decided to, take a day off, Tessa would have to fold, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what. It's just, she's fantastic. Right. So, sorry, Lynn. So, Wicca is would you call it a religion?
It is a religion, yes.
Okay. So, witchcraft goes back to doctors, or physicians. I'm going to say witch doctors for lack of a better term. Okay. But weren't originally the witches were actually doctors or government officials.
Yes, like the medicine women that you hear.
The medicine, exactly.
Yeah, but the practices that we practice are ancient, really. Yeah. I mean, if you look back to the ancient Egyptians, a lot of the things that they did are the same types of the ways of looking at things that witchcraft does. So yes, everybody kind of thinks of the kind of the witch in the woods, who was like the medicine woman that everybody went to, and that is true, and that was viewed as witchcraft. But really, she was just working with herbs. She knew, how to use the natural world to heal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was some fear around that, and so that's why that kind of
became
called witches.
Yeah, if it worked, that would that would create.
Yeah, so it seemed like magic to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So science. So there's there's a distinct difference between science and magic, obviously.
Not really.
Well, okay.
See, people think that.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Yeah. But when you're using natural herbs like earth things from the earth, that's where our medicine all comes from. Anyway, it's maybe synthesized these days, but so it was interesting that when I Googled again, that it gave me witch doctors or that the medical type healing professions.
Yeah.
But we're talking years and years and years,
Yeah, because if you think about it, working with the herbs is like the natural world. That would be biology, right?
Right.
Working with energy, that's physics. Working with the elements, again, is another form of biology, I guess one could say. And it's also combined with physics because we're working with the energy from fire or we're working with the energy from water. So there is a lot of overlap between science and magic. We always say magic is misunderstood science.
Misunderstood. Yeah, thank you. That's I was heading that direction, Lynn. I knew you'd get there. So as far as the distinction between UFOs and paranormal activities, how we've got our ultra spectrum. I don't know if you've reviewed it, but it's based on Hynek and of course John Keel's super spectrum. How do you feel about that? Connecting it, everything is connected. Like I'm kind of
I
thinking
agree. I do think
thinking you'll agree because everything on the Earth is connected. But then now we're talking about outer type things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So where do you go with that? Like, what's your experience with the UFO as opposed to paranormal? I'm separating them. Some people may not.
Yeah.
I separate them because quite honestly, I've never had a UFO experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but in my mind, it's separate.
Yeah.
know. But how do you feel?
I would agree with you in the sense that if you see a physical craft, that is a physical occurrence. That is very real. It is a material object in front of you. If you see, say, a glowing orb, well, we don't know what those are. So that could be what we would deem paranormal, right?
Right.
It could be, I mean, we don't know what it is. It could be like a drone, an alien drone. We have no idea what it is, but we just see a glowing orb. So that could cross over. So I would say I'm in the middle. I'd separate some aspects of it. A physical craft, yes, that is separate from, say, like a ghost or a spirit or something along those lines. They're in it's almost two different dimensions.
Right. So, so as a witch, being in touch with the Earth, okay. The human initiated contact, that type of stuff. Yeah. Calling or trying to initiate contact with that maybe in particular ETs. But of course, I'm a demonologist, so I think demons, right? So where does witchcraft fall into the communication end of things? And I could be talking prayer. I could be talking just communicating, maybe asking for something, particular demons. I don't know if can we talk about that communication between the paranormal and yourself or people, how would you do that? Who would you do it with? Who would you be communicating with?
Okay.
I'm interested because I think our fundamentally we could be polar opposites when it comes to demons.
We might very well be. I think
but
we
that's
are.
okay. Tess is all about that. Tess is all about that.
Yeah.
So it's just, if you don't mind talking about it, let me hear what you do. Say contacting somebody, or like, who do you ask for help?
Well, it depends on what it is I'm asking for. So if we go back to the very fundamentals of, say, spell casting, because spell casting is very much, you were absolutely dead on when you said a prayer. It is very similar to a prayer. The only difference is, and again, this gets a little gray if you're working with, say, a deity, a god, or a goddess. But as a witch, where I'm not working with a deity, the difference between prayer and spell casting is simply that in prayer, you're asking someone else to intercede on your behalf. In spellcasting, you're the person who's putting the intent out there to make it happen. So there's no kind of god or goddess like mediating the event for you, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing spellcasting and you do work with a deity of some sort, whichever one that may be, and there are witches who do work with the Christian God, and they do work with Jesus, and they do work with Mary. So that's one of the things about Wicca and witchcraft is you can work with whoever you want. So it's not limited to that. I wanted to make sure that everybody realizes that as well. But it depends on what you're doing. That would be my answer. So if I'm saying and I think we may have touched upon this a little bit, and I wore this shirt in purple. Says that you're never alone.
You're never alone.
Or just for you, Tim.
Thank you. Yeah. You know what? How true that is. Lynn?
Yeah. So from my perspective, demons are entities. Now, I think that a lot of people use the term demon. They overuse the term demon. They see anything that they perceive as bad as a demon.
Right.
And I think that there is a very specific type of spirit or entity that we would call a demon, right? And again, I think it's also in how you're dealing with it, and different demons are going to be different, because I have worked with demons. I'll say that up front. I have worked with them. I haven't had any issues with them. I approach it as a partnership. I don't work for them. They don't work for me. But I think, as you know, as a demonologist, there are hierarchies of demons.
Right.
And I think the things that we see that are causing trouble, like kind of the troublemakers of the demon world, are the lower level demons. They're the ones that are really just kind of chaotic and wreaking havoc. But my own personal interactions with the few that I have worked with, I don't work with a ton of them, and I don't recommend people working with them if they aren't educated in it and they aren't aware of how to do it and how to approach it. Because the moment you approach it with fear, you're going to be in trouble. Right. But you have to educate yourself, as you do with anything, I would say. So say and I don't work with them all the time. Like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm sitting in our call talking to the demons every day. I mean, hey, if they want to have a conversation, sure, I will. Yeah. But what would I contact them for? So, like, there are certain demons, as you know, from like the Goetia. There are certain demons that are good with, and King Solomon, when he wrote out the Goetia and characterized each of these demons, he talked about their attributes, the things that they were good at. Some are good at working with herbs. Some are good at like the knowledge of the natural world. Some are good at communication. Like, they each have their own attributes. And the way he worked with them was to capture them, within the Solomon circle, and basically bid them to do his will. Now, as a witch who works with them on occasion, I would never do that. I would never capture them, because one, I think that's like starting off the conversation on a bad foot already. Like, nobody wants to be captured and made to do something. Right. So, if I really felt the need to, and I only work with them when it's like, something like a bigger issue that I'm trying to tackle. So say there was, if I'm going to have an example, say I know a friend and she's in a relationship that's abusive and she's having trouble, and she asks me, hey, can you help me with this? Can you do something? And I only do it for people that I would know very, very well. Because it is, you're taking on that. Every action has, an equal and opposite reaction. So you're taking on that risk. But say it was something like that, I would use them for protection. Absolutely. So if someone was doing harm against someone else and they've tried everything else, I would use it for protection. And I would say, hey, I know that this demon is going to be good with this. I'll talk with them and have them go have a little talk with the other person if necessary. Again, I've only done that like maybe 2 or 3 times ever. It's not necessary. It's not one of those things that I'm not going to do that for like anybody who, like, if you cut me off in traffic, I'm not sending a demon your way. But right. Sometimes, we as witches, we use what we have to protect ourselves as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting in that scenario, obviously an abusive husband or boyfriend or something like that. Would you not consider the fact that he has got a demon?
Possibly.
Right.
Possibly.
So you're sending
so maybe the demons can chat. They can just have some coffee and be like, all right, let me talk to you, because Lynn's going to have a problem with this. So we need to chat. No, it's very possible. I don't mean to joke. It is very possible.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there's like, you're again with the, we are going to be opposite in some, me with my, my Christian background. Mm-hmm. I don't try to Bible thump people. Yeah. And it could be, and I'm not, when I talk about the Bible, I try to go back to the original text and I try to understand what they were thinking at the time when they wrote it. Okay, so it is very narrow when it comes to demons. Demons are no, right? Mm-hmm. They're a no. You don't talk to demons. You don't talk to demons because. Yeah. So that was my upbringing. So in order to expand that, as you're looking into exorcisms and things dealing with the demons, you can get into strongholds that the demon. You get into it. Like there's got to be a legal right somewhere. Somewhere somebody has let that demon. Or let Satan have permission to infest this bloodline, or activate a curse in generational curses and stuff. What I'm saying is my interpretation, and what I look for and what I see is the negative. Yeah. I see the negative result. I see those strongholds. The strongholds being like alcoholism, schizophrenia, bipolar. These things can be strongholds and can be places for demons to play around, and to wreak a lot of havoc. So it's hard for me to think. Now, if I call on Christ as a Christian, mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just putting a name to my faith. Yes. Right? Yes. So you're calling a demon maybe a matter of translation or a matter, what I mean? Like it's your intent, and your communications are on a positive mm-hmm. nature. Okay, yeah. What I see is not. I don't see that positive nature.
Right. And that's why I was
Yeah.
saying, like, there are different levels. There are different, I mean, and just like in any species, the human species, there are some wonderfully amazing humans, and there are some really, really horrible humans. You know, so I think that's the one problem that I have is categorizing an entire species as evil. I don't think that that's like, we don't know enough about them to do that.
Yeah.
And I do understand where you're coming. In fact, you'd probably be surprised in that our backgrounds aren't completely unsimilar. I actually, when I said that I, find religion fascinating, I actually was enrolled in an old Catholic seminary for a while and was working on a master's in theology. And I wanted to learn about demons. And they knew that I was a witch. I wasn't practicing while I was there. That was kind of the agreement. But I wanted to learn about exorcisms and their view of demons and the history of Christianity and all of that, and how it was all incorporated, and the ritual of Catholicism, because there's a lot of ritual. Oh boy. All right. Well, hopefully Tim will be back. But for all of you guys, yes, there's a lot of ritual in Catholicism.
Well, I'm here. That kind of shocked me. I don't know what happened there, but carry on with that thought.
So yeah, I was just saying there's a lot of ritual in Catholicism, and I found that fascinating too. What are the kind of the behind the scenes that the priest does in order to get mass ready, in order to have communion ready for those to be taken, like converting the blood into, or the wine into blood and the bread into the body. So those are all rituals, and they're very, very similar. And I hope I don't offend anybody in saying this, and I certainly don't mean to compare the two, but the techniques are very similar to what we as witches do too, which is using energy to convert things.
Right. Timmy, are you there? Sorry, I think Tim was going to come up and take my seat. I think that something might have happened.
Right. No worries.
Okay. I was engaged in the conversation too, so like I totally.
All right. Well, then ask me a question, Ryan, while you got me.
Well, yeah, I gotcha. Let me think here. What would be the difference between, I guess, a bad witch and a good witch? Like, can and how do you establish the difference? Like, how does one make a decision?
Yeah, that's a good question.
To be good or bad.
And I would say, I personally would say it's all about perspective. But if we're going to kind of generalize, the difference would be, again, the intent. Do you have malicious intent, or do you have good intent? Are you there to try to help and to heal, or are you there to harm? Now, it gets gray when I say things like, somebody could say me, sending a demon to protect my friend who's being abused from a boyfriend or husband or whatever. The example was, someone could say, well, that's malicious. And I could say, but it's also protective of her. It's healing her, so that's where it kind of gets to be a gray area. And then within the witchcraft and the Wiccan community, it is very gray as well. Some people won't do anything that is even remotely close to being called, negative witchcraft, like a binding. And a binding is not necessarily anything bad, but some people don't even want to go that far. So that's like, basically a binding is just keeping someone from doing something. So you're kind of binding that behavior, so that they're not, being hurtful to you, or whatever the situation may be. You're not doing anything to them physically. You're not sending anything after them. You're not, it's a very basic type of spell work, but some witches won't even want to do that. They'll view that as a gray area. So there is, and then again, there's controversy on the kind of the wording here, but to make it very simplistic, there's the white witchcraft, and then there's the dark witchcraft, and then there's also gray witchcraft, which is that kind of middle area and that's what a lot of people would call me, which is like, I will do the things that other people would view as darker magic if I need to, such as protecting a friend like that. But I also, most of my witchcraft is for positive intent. So that's where you kind of get that like in between gray area.
So have you don't have to answer this, but I guess like, have you ever used it, in a bad way? Have you ever been?
I wouldn't say it was a bad way, but other people might say it was a bad way. Yes, I have used it to protect either my friends or family members. Yes. But and I would say it's probably been maybe 3 or 4 times ever. Okay. It's not like I don't do that. And that's the thing that, Lord in the Depths has a question. Are you a specific witch? Green, crystal? I don't know any others that you practice. Yes. Well, this is where people get very confused by me too. I am actually what is considered a Luciferian witch. Now, that is not a satanic witch. It is very different. Because that's the thing people automatically jump to. Luciferian simply means, because Lucifer in the Bible was the bringer of light. It was light bringer, right? That's what Lucifer meant. So Luciferian simply means to gain knowledge, to empower yourself, to kind of elevate yourself in your understanding of the world around you. That's all Luciferian simply means. Some people do work with the angel Lucifer. I do. I don't work with Satan. And actually in the Bible, nowhere in the Bible does it state that Lucifer was Satan. People have made the connection. And I think it was one of the popes, if I remember right from seminary, I should know that. One of the popes, I think, made the leap. Maybe Tim will know. That Lucifer was Satan, but actually it never explicitly states that he was Satan. Mm-hmm. So Lucifer is an angel. So that's who I work with.
I will comment, and then I'm going to hand it back to Tim, because clearly we're having technical difficulties. He needs my share. So I do follow Sumerian mythology as well, and under Enki and Enlil. And if you follow that mythology, by technicality, the Lord of the Sky is the bad one, and the Lord of the Earth is the good one. And you follow that all the way up to Christianity. The Lord of the Sky is God, and the Lord of the Earth is Satan. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yes, Ryan. That's funny. Well, I wouldn't call God Satan for sure, but but yes, that is true. There's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of different interpretations. I personally, when I work with Lucifer, the angel Lucifer, he is an angel, and that is it. There's no malintent. There's nothing, satanic about it. And depends on the branch of Satanism too. Like, there are a bunch of different branches of Satanism. Some of them, there is the Church of Satan, which is probably more along the lines of what people think. But then there's also like the Satanic Temple, which I know they have. Like, I think they have their headquarters is in Salem, which is it's a civil rights political organization. They fight for civil rights. So it's all very fascinating. There's a lot to it.
Well, Aleister Crowley's. He's one of my best buddies.
Aleister Crowley. He's a fascinating dude. I give him that.
Well, he is. He's on my answering machine. That's who you get when you call me.
That's hilarious.
So obviously I missed the question about Satan. I heard the explanation.
He was asking me about good witchcraft versus bad witchcraft, and then who was it? Lurd in the Depths asked what type of witch I was, and that's why I was explaining what a Luciferian witch is, which is to kind of gain enlightenment through educating yourself through knowledge. Right. That's all that it is.
That actually sounds like a lot of religions. To be honest.
Right. Well, it's called that because Lucifer, as you know, is the bringer of light. So he's the bringer of knowledge. Yeah. And that's where it comes from. But I not every Luciferian works with Lucifer. I do. I work with the angel Lucifer. Right. So, you can or you can't. But I don't view him as a deity.
Well, and it's interesting that Ryan was talking about Sumerian Sumerian mythology. Mythology itself is very interesting. The stories that very similar. There's a hero, there's a death, there's it's all Joseph Campbell wrote about it, the mythology, Star Wars, obviously, that kind of thing, with the hero and that. But what happens with mythology and what happens with the story of Lucifer, the fallen angel, and Satan and all this kind of stuff, you got to remember that the amount of time that has passed. Even just the Christian, the 2,000 years that they talk about with Christ, being it's evolved. Yeah, I'm trying, and all these stories evolve. So we could get into debating who Lucifer was, because I know who Lucifer is in my head. Yeah. Right. But are we going to come ahead anywhere? Are we going to, So your intentions as defining good witch and bad witch, good cop, bad cop. It's isn't it? It's what's inside you.
It is, and it's
know,
perspective too, of who's the one viewing it, you know. So I may say like, well, I know that I'm a good person and I'm not out there, you know, like killing people. I'm not out there like abusing it, you know, like, so I would say I'm a good person, but someone else might be like, oh my gosh, they hear Luciferian and automatically they're going to think that I'm a bad witch.
The word Lucifer's in there, so you're going to get.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? That's okay because I use it for educational purposes too.
Yeah. And I think it's important that, you know, as experiencers, I'm an experiencer as well, that we don't, the details aren't as important as our feelings and how we move on from our experiences. You know, that's what Tessa's about. Now, I know in your bio, you talk about an experiencers group or helping experiencers. I believe that was somebody who worked at Harvard.
No, that was when I was working with the free organization.
Well, free organization. Sorry, I wanted to go into free, what it was and what you did at free, and possibly are you still with them or?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yep. So I worked with Mary Rodwell, who's amazing. If you guys don't know who she is, any experiencers out there, Mary's awesome. She works solely with experiencers, but she's also a researcher. But so she's one of the founders of Free, and she and I co-developed this support program for experiencers. So basically, it's a program for anyone who's had experiences that they're either having trouble kind of coming to terms with, or maybe it's a brand new experience and they're just completely freaked out by it, or maybe it's an old experience and they just have no one else to talk to and they would really like to talk to someone about it and be able to process that. So we came up with we had a good long list, I think, of almost like, it was over 100, I think, by the time that I ended up leaving Free, of mentors. So these were people who were experiencers themselves. They were very well adjusted and had a good understanding, or at least a good, solid, like, I'm okay with this type of experience, and we're able to talk to other people about it. And so then anybody who called in or wrote in, in the beginning, they spoke to me, every single one of them, because it was just me working mostly. Because Mary she's in Australia, she's amazing, but she's a regressionist, but she runs all kinds of support groups and everything. So I kind of like took the lead in running it. And so everybody would really talk to me on the way in. And part of it was to vet them to make sure, like, oh, are they okay? Like, do they need other help? Like we talked about before. Yeah. So I would say, okay, well, what kind of experience? And they would tell me about their experience. And so I knew all of our mentors, we had categorized what types of experiences they had so that we could try to get them matched up with someone who had maybe something similar, maybe a similar being or a similar type of encounter, because no two experiences are going to be exactly the same, obviously. So we would then match them up with that person, and then that person would be kind of take them on as like a mentor and work with them and talk with them and just kind of like be there for them as a friend and help them try to understand their experiences.
Right. Now we run an experiencers group. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Experiencers Anonymous. You can pop in sometime. Right?
Yeah.
Our next one is this Saturday at 2.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact. And I find it's helpful for me, even like I'm helping running it. It doesn't give me any official title in the group or anything. It's anonymous, but I'm hoping that the people attending it are getting something out of it. The reports, obviously, the reports are key. People reporting, but then the experiencers who have reported that, where do they go? Right. That's what I find interesting about our Experiencers Anonymous. I like the mentoring that you're talking about. That's something that I never thought of, much like a sponsor in a 12-step group kind of thing. That's an awesome idea. Chantel's hopefully still listening. Maybe she'll write that down for our next meeting. I think that's a great idea, because the experiencer with an experienced experiencer. So thank you.
It's peer-to-peer support is all it is.
Yeah, I may be stealing that idea from you, Lynn.
Anyone who if it helps anyone. But you know what? I'm sure even if you feel like you're not necessarily, like, if you're questioning, how am I hope I'm helping, even other people hearing someone else talk about their experience is helpful. That's helpful. That is therapeutic in and of itself, to hear like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not alone in this. Even if they don't talk, even if they, you never hear from them, even maybe that one conversation is going to be helpful. Oh my goodness. Yes. Sorry. Go.
More treats.
ghost who's bugging my other dog, I guess.
Well, there you go.
Now he's just old and demented a little bit, but every now and then he's just like out of nowhere.
The older they get, the better they get.
Yeah.
We've got animals all over the place here. It's great.
Yeah.
Sometimes animals are better people than people.
That is true. They are good support as well. They're great therapy as well.
Oh, Lynn, I'm reviewing my notes.
Yeah, no worries. I can see, if you don't mind me. I'm sorry, I'm like taking over your show.
Go ahead.
I can just see a question that would be maybe like.
Well, and you know what? I don't know how to pop them on the screen. So
oh, you don't?
No, I have.
Oh, okay. If you see in the upper right-hand corner, there says private chat and comments. I don't know if you can see that on your screen.
Comments. Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
comments.
click on that and it'll show up all the comments on that.
I see them. I just don't know how to put them on the screen.
You should be able to just double click on it maybe, or just click on it and then it should.
Well, here's one, and okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
All right. Are you a specific which green crystal? I don't know any others.
Yeah, I think that's the one that Ryan and I were like talking about too. That's where I was talking about being a
good
Luciferian.
witch, bad witch. Okay.
Yeah, but lured in the depth. She had another good question, a couple more down. I think it says, I know y'all kind of touched on this, but how can you really tell the difference between a mental disorder and a possession?
Yeah, that was interesting because
yeah,
there it is. Okay, sorry. Yeah, there we go. So how can you really tell the difference? Then?
Detached from reality.
Yeah, there are signs of possession.
Mm-hmm.
In my business, there's signs of possession. There's knowledge that they would never know, and speaking languages that they couldn't possibly know. But and this is an important question: what's the difference between mental disorder and possession? I'll tell you what happens is people, and I get emails all the time. I need an exorcism. I need it. I'm going. I need an I have demons. I have it's not, you can't go to an exorcism. You can't just go to an exorcism. Okay. And
right.
I'm sure you agree. Do you have a comment about the difference between the mental disorder? I just find that in what I'm doing, I'm getting a lot of people asking for exorcisms. And when I say go to a doctor, they get offended. Like they get offended. So
right, and they might, but that doesn't mean that it's not still good for them to hear. Sometimes they need to, and you can say, because the church isn't going to grant an exorcism anyway unless they've been, kind of.
Yeah, well, if you want to get into the paperwork of the Catholic Church, that's
right, but they need to rule that out first, right? If I remember correctly.
Catholics have been doing exorcisms, but exorcisms themselves are a lot older than the Catholic Church.
Yes.
They're just the first Christian organization to actually write a book about it.
Yeah.
About exorcisms and how you do it and all this kind of stuff. So they get a lot of flack for their books and what they've written, but no other, like there's no Pentecostal book on demons and possession or any of that kind of stuff. So it's backwards though, is what I'm seeing. I don't know if you find that people want the quick fix and they think the exorcism is a quick fix. It's
right.
not.
Yeah, I agree. And see, to me, and again, I hope I don't offend anyone, but I think if someone is asking for that, I would lean more towards what's going on emotionally for them, what's going on mentally for them, if they're asking for an exorcism, because someone who's truly possessed isn't going to have that capacity to ask for an exorcism.
Right. Yeah, and that's very sensible. Crazy people don't know they're crazy.
No.
Right. So somebody who is fully possessed. Now, I mean, you can get into all kinds of different things when we talk about schizophrenia or dissociative, any dissociative disorder, personality disorder, or anything like that. There is also the potential that a demon may be infested in one of those personalities. Right? Or
there's the potential that they believe that there is, because there can be an aspect of paranoia to that disorder too. Yeah, exactly. So that's where it can get a little tricky, and you really have to work with the person for a little while to really understand what's going on.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're not, like, if you had mentioned your friend, wanting your help. You have to be clear of what help they're asking for, right? And whether it's something that you want to be involved in, because there's actions have consequences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something you always have to take into consideration with, whether it's spell work or working with, and the demonic in any way.
So talking about the spells and working with demonics, do you have a procedure before you do a spell? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is there some, like,
just a spell in general, or one working specifically with?
How do you decide you're going to do a spell? How do you just, like, okay, you're ticked off at somebody. Are you
okay?
Like, okay, this is in my mind, which is like, oh, you're going to get it, pal. Like, so how do you decide to do a spell? Like, well,
first of all, you don't do it while you're ticked off, right? Because you have to be able to focus your intent. And if you're in your emotions, you're never going to be able to accurately focus your intent for whatever it is. If you're sad, or if you're, it doesn't have to necessarily be anger. You need to be in a very calm space. And you need to think, if you're going to do something like that, if it's, say, working in, kind of a more like a darker area, if we're going to like talk about that. You definitely need to think it through. You have to consider every possible kind of bit of retribution that might happen there. You have to consider every possible outcome, and are you okay with that? And you have to consider, is this something that is the crime worth the punishment, so to speak? I'm not viewing it as punishment, but to use the phrase. So you really have to consider it. And that's where something I see, like a lot of, especially younger, which is like girls who are in their, like, late teens, early 20s, they're very quick. They're very quick to be like, oh, I'm going to curse this person. And I'm like, no. That is absolutely the wrong thing for you to be doing right now. Right. So you always want to try to go a more positive route, and then only use that in very extreme cases. So I would say, if I've come to like judge the situation, I've thought about it, I've looked at it from every possible angle. Is there anything else I can do instead of this? And use and say this is a last resort. Then I'm going to very specifically plan out what it is I'm asking to happen. And because you want to make it very specific. You don't want to just be like, just sending a bunch of negative energy towards that person, because what if there are people around them? Is that negative energy going to spread? So you have to like really, really understand what it is you're doing and the task you're undertaking. And again, be prepared for any consequences that you might get from it.
So is there a difference between curses and spells? Spells or curses?
No, curses are simply a type of spell.
Okay.
It's all spell work.
Yeah, okay.
Spell work is just like a general term, really.
Right. And in my line of work, a curse is a doorway or a permission, okay, for evil. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's
on the person casting it, or
okay, there's that too.
This is what I'm asking.
There's that too. Okay, you're good, Lynn. The person having the curse. Okay, mm-hmm. And of course, right now I am doing some studying on curses and generational stuff. Mm-hmm. So I curse you to the 10th generation, and and all the language and stuff like that. But that generational curse is the invitation. And it could skip generations.
I would argue that a generational curse only works if the family believes that it works. Because, maybe say someone in their family did get cursed, and maybe the witch did. Though I don't know any witches who've ever done generational curses on people. I think that's incredibly rare. But I'm not to say that it can't happen. Anything can happen, right? But if I were to think, well, I know my mom was cursed, and then, she said her grandmother was cursed, so obviously I'm cursed, then what's going to happen? I'm going to be cursed. But if I don't believe it, if I'm just like, she just had bad luck, she's fine. Like, it is what it is. Like, I don't believe in that. Nobody cursed me. It wasn't me. I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm not going to be cursed.
That's interesting, because it does, even with the generational curses that I've been studying, if it skips a generation, mm-hmm. it's likely because the environment of that person was a good environment, mm-hmm. one that repelled the evil. Okay. But because the curse, and it could have been something hundreds of years ago, mm-hmm. right? It could have been a ritual ceremony or, any kind of sacrifice or dark sacrifice way back when. So what's happening with this curse is it may be skipping some generations. You might get a nice kid grow up and have all the things in the world and all this. Satan's just going to wait. He's okay. Let this guy go. I'll get the next one. That's generational. That's what I'm talking about. Is that
okay? That's interesting. See, I wouldn't see it as, I guess, Satan waiting around for somebody. I would see a curse just like I would any other spell work, which is energy. It's energy directed at that. Energy be sustained.
Exactly. And how long can that energy be sustained?
Right. But also on the other side, shielding and protection work, all witchcraft, and every witch who has been doing it for a while will tell you this. All witchcraft is energy work. It's 100% mental. You don't need candles. You don't need tools of any kind. Yes, those can help you focus your energy and focus your intent. They're great tools for that, but you don't need them. So shielding work and protection work are all mental. So if I can sit there and say, well, I can shield myself from curses by protecting myself, say surrounding myself in a white light or whatever it is that a person uses, then you could also say that a generational curse isn't going to work on someone who is surrounded by positivity, whether it's through their own intent or their environment. Right. Because it's the same type of thing.
I like that, Lynn. I like that because it's my environment. I'm diving into demons books, and some of it is black. Yeah. I don't subscribe to it. Like I don't, it's. I'm gonna say research. I'm not a researcher. I read, but it's my. I guess my point is, I'm very familiar with setting up a positive environment before I go in to do something. Yes. And even the spirit attachment work or anything like that, that protective bubble that you're talking about, that's something that they teach us, before we go into any situation.
Yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah, just even a paranormal investigation, whether or not we're going to find something, that's the question. Okay, but what if we do find something? What kind of protection do I give myself? And it's a personal thing, right? It's obviously personal to you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
Like if you want to call on, St. Michael the Archangel to protect you. St. Michael the Archangel, protect us in battle. You know that. Right. That's a form of protection, and that's that intent. Again, you're focusing it towards St. Michael, but again, it's your belief that St. Michael will protect you. That's really what's protecting you.
Right. Yeah. I was just looking at you got me looking at the comments here. One fellow
it's addictive.
Yeah,
it is. Some good questions.
But I might just turn the floor over to some questions because
go for it.
So it's just there is a fellow here, Christopher, commented about the around St. Petersburg. He says 10,000 exorcisms done yearly. I don't know how accurate that is, but if it's in Italy, obviously they're going to do a lot of exorcisms.
Yeah.
At church, right? You need to do commercial right now. Okay, I'm going to bring Ryan Stacy on to run our commercials, Lynn. Okay, you hang in there. Go get a drink of water.
Alrighty.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties, obviously. For you guys listening, you have no idea what's going on. But for you guys watching, please bear with us. Timmy, you're doing a very good job. And especially for like the only time in history where we've had something like that malfunction. It must be the demons.
It's me. I cause all kinds of electrical issues.
Thank you, everybody, for paying attention and working through this right now as I'm just stalling to find my button and my cat's in my way. All right, so we will pause right here, but we will continue after a message from our professional partners. Also, if you're listening to this live on KPNL Radio or a future podcast, head over to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association to see the video that goes with the audio. I don't recommend watching this one, but it's it's good. No, I meant with all the stuff going on. We all know who's listening. Okay, remember, you're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association. And if we're lucky, Tim will be back.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. Just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
The same thing that draws aliens to our planet is the same thing that draws us to others. Exploration, curiosity, sustainability of life. That's why we go. It would make sense as to why they're visiting here.
Travis! Quit playing around, man. Get back here. Travis!
The last thing I remember was this numbing shock. Stunning sort of a feeling. Very powerful.
Get away from me!
I was just out of my mind with fear, just screaming the whole time.
It's been theorized that aliens prefer remote areas because they don't want to attract attention. Whatever it is that they're doing, they would want to do that in a less populated area. There are multiple accounts of the same thing from people from all over the world. People that do not know each other, do not live in the same cultures, and they're all looking up, they're all seeing things in the sky. So it would be naive of us to think that we're alone in the universe.
My mission is to assist and help those experiencing this phenomenon in such a way that they're able to continue and live with it, and also in a way that it can be measured, quantified, and reinforced within today's society, so that way it can be accepted and no longer viewed in a negative way. One thing that I do value in people is the ability to sense and feel when something is right and when something is wrong. That is a natural ability that we all share. Now, when we combine that with the paranormal and ufological abductions or visits, I have this sensation that these abilities are connected. Not everyone can sense, not everyone can feel. However, those who can are typically connected with something that we cannot explain. And part of my research is not just to investigate the experience, but it's also to understand and study the experiencer to find out what they have in common with other experiencers, to try to figure out what the actual makeup is in order to be on that spectrum. There's a lot of it happening all over the world, and I do not know of any other study that is focusing on the individuals as people, only the phenomenon. All right, welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. If you're enjoying this episode so far, please consider becoming a member of our channel and send us a super chat. Your membership will get you bonus content like exclusive videos, and it will help us reach our goal of launching our training center, which is Interstellar, the Academy of Ufology and Paranormal Studies. Also, if you've ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, dogman, or any other cryptid, head over to testacan.org/reporting system. The more reports we get, the more we will understand this phenomenon and how it affects our people. Let the others who have already reported be that example that proves we are making a difference. If it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do, and for that, we thank you. So we're still here with Lynn. I still have Tim. I'm going to start with a question so you can do your thing while we do this magical, graceful transition. and that question would be, let's just pick a random one here from Timmy. Have you ever met a wizard? And how would you describe a wizard?
I don't think that I have. I don't think that I have ever met a wizard. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've met a wizard. I've met a couple of people who call themselves warlocks, which is like, not my favorite.
That was my next question.
Oh, they're not viewed kindly. Because witch is a unisex term. It is not. It is a unisex term. It does. There is no differentiation. Witch does not mean female. So by calling yourself a warlock, it's just a little. Yeah.
Well, is he the boss?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
is that what it is?
Come on.
Well,
yeah.
Hollywood would let you know that.
What's that?
I've seen Hollywood, show us warlocks and things.
Yeah, well, it's Hollywood, but I mean, it's just, it's just something.
So, Lynn, I've decided I'm going to review the questions here because I think I may have missed some.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. There was somebody that commented that before the show they cleanse themselves, which I thought was interesting. I cleansed recently, so I'm okay right now with watching this. I keep black salt mixes around my window seals and doors. Probably because I'm that paranoid. Well, okay.
But if she's got black salt, she knows what she's doing.
Black salt, yeah.
Yes, okay. That's a witch's best friend.
Yeah, but what is black salt compared
black
to
salt? So salt in any form is going to be very protective, right? You know this. Yeah. Black salt it depends on if you make it yourself. If you make it yourself, it's basically just you can use charcoal discs to burn incense or herbs or whatever you're doing in your spell work. So basically you can just grind that all up in a mortar and pestle, mix it with your salt. So now all of that intention that you had going into the spell work that you did is now also infused in the salt. So it just gives it a little extra oomph. So black salt is a little extra protective.
So black wouldn't be the color.
It can be black.
Oh, it could be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It depends, I think, who makes it. Sometimes they'll just grind up charcoal before it's burnt, so it's going to be a lot more black.
Actually, I've got in the demon den.
You should. I have some stuff I can send you, Tim.
I burn frankincense and myrrh. I do that, and everybody comes into my demon den. Yeah. But they feel very comfortable.
Yeah. Well, frankincense and myrrh is great.
And it just gives that spiritual positive environment.
Yes, it's like it raises the vibration.
So I appreciate Lured in Depths. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, don't be paranoid. I'm nice.
Yeah, don't be paranoid. Yeah. I get my salt from the Dead Sea.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So holy water, the whole 9 yards. The little doctor's kit. Crucifix.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it.
It's fun stuff. So I'm just going to go down here.
Oh, Moonlight's here. Hi. Or Moonlit. Sorry, I mispronounced that.
Moonlight?
Moonlight?
Where is he? Hey, there he is. Hi, Moonlight.
So in Spaced Out Radio.
Moonlight. Yeah, he's got I was on his webpage, his Facebook. Very interesting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, so Lured in Depths is on demons and okay, so do you believe demons are always among us, interdimensional, or like from hell from time to time? We're talking demons, Lynn. I don't know if you want to keep going on demon topics.
I'll talk about demons if you want. I don't mind.
I do. I follow one Facebook page, Demonolatry Worldwide, and I don't quite some of that stuff. They're calling on demons, and I'm not sure the experience factor is there that you mentioned. Having experience calling.
No, it's not. I can tell you right now, it's not.
Yeah. So are demons always among us? I believe they are.
I think so. Yeah.
I believe there's positive and negative. I don't believe the universe operates without either one. So the forces are there. Lynn?
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. I do think they're interdimensional beings. So I think that they are amongst us all of the time, just as, what we would call angels are amongst us all of the time, and spirits. I think they're all kind of in that same realm. So yeah, I absolutely think that they're amongst us all the time.
I'm not sure they come from hell. Okay?
I don't think so.
Hell is again an overused word.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
I think we create our own hells.
Well, I'm going to say that I think hell is here on Earth. like because you only have to turn on the news.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that, it sounds oversimplifying, but it is reality. You want to see demonic activity, turn on the news.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Somewhere a demon has influenced something along the line. So, Ryan would like to know what are, I'm not going to say this. Sigils?
Who's this Ryan
Sigils?
person?
I don't know.
I've heard the name.
I'm going to ask my producer to cut him off.
What are sigils? Do witches use them? If so, how? Oh,
Yeah.
good question,
Yeah,
Ryan.
it was a good question.
They are. Sigils are nothing more than symbols, and you can create your own. So say I wanted to do a love spell, which I never do because it's not a great idea. But say I was going to do it for the sake of, ease. You could make your own sigil by, say, combining all those letters into, say, like a symbol, LOVE, overlapping them however you want. Then that is something that you can use to then focus on. So it's another way to focus your intent. So some people will say, like, say they want to try to get rid of like anger or whatever it is. I'm oversimplifying these, obviously, because these are going to be much more focused when you're actually doing them. But say you have some anger. You want to make out a sigil with the word anger too. So you can write it out. You can focus on that intent, and then you can burn it. So a sigil is just a way to focus that intent, like of, imbuing the symbol with that intent. And then for something like that, burning it is just getting rid of it.
Okay. And you're going back to a psychological principle in therapy sessions.
Yeah.
Writing a letter to a loved one that hurts,
and then burning it.
And then burning it. That whole procedure just clears things out. I have a friend who's constantly got too much on her mind.
Yeah.
All the time, and I do tell her, write something down, whatever's on your mind, write it down. Either deal with it or set it aside because you're putting too much in your head.
Yeah, write it down, then you can release it.
But you release it, and burning it is an excellent. I mean, fire cleanses.
Yes, fire's amazing. I mean, I'm a fire sign, so I'm going to think that. But yes, it destroys and it cleanses.
Yeah. So you mentioned signs. What about? I'm a Sagittarius. Does that mean anything to you?
No, because I don't know enough about astrology. It's a very complicated subject. Some witches do. Some witches, like every witch kind of has their thing that they're really into. For me, it's herbs. I love plants. I love herbs. I work with herbs all the time, herbs and oils. And those, again, are just ways. So like herbs, crystals, you hear of witches kind of working with all of these things. And like I was talking about before, we're all made up of energy. So a specific plant is going to have a specific type of energy. It has its own. That's what, you kind of hear the term vibration or frequency. Right. That's all that is. So, say I want to do a money spell. Well, alfalfa is great. It has a good correspondence of bringing in wealth. So maybe I'll use alfalfa in that. So they all kind of have their own correspondences. And crystals, the same thing. Different crystals have, it's just different energies to work with, really. Right. And I completely forgot what we were talking about. Like, what was it? That each witch has their own thing. So some are going to be working more with kind of astrology, what's going on out there, what's going on with the planetary systems. Are they in this type of an alignment? And that helps kind of boost this type of energy. Me, I have no idea. I'm completely clueless when it comes to that. So,
okay. You did mention the seasons, the lunar cycle and stuff like that. Do you use any of that?
I do use the moon, and again, that's so there are kind of guidelines of the moon. So like if you have, say, a full moon is a lot of energy, but it's also a great time. It's kind of counteractive to what you think it would be, or counterintuitive, which is you would think the full moon, because it's the full moon, is a great time to bring things into your life, but it's actually the opposite. It's a good time to get rid of things, because the moon, it's always about the movement of the moon. So as a full moon, it's going to start getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's a good time to get rid of things, and a new moon is a great time to bring things into your life that you want.
Okay.
So yeah, but you can always kind of reword things, like, if I want to get rid of, if I want to bring money into my life, but say it's a full moon, I'm like, well, I want to get rid of not having enough money.
Right.
So you can tweak it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like tweaking stuff.
Yeah.
That's my whole job.
There's always a way around it.
Yeah, there's a way around it. Sorry. I saw one here that I wanted to talk about. I don't know about the entire question, but it was about the witches in Salem being burned at the stake. But the question mentioned the cabal.
Oh, yeah, I don't think.
Is there a connection with the cabal, or?
I don't think so. Not back in. I mean, this is in 1600s we're talking about. So
well, and it was led by Christians.
It was led by Puritans. They were very puritanical. Well, there's a reason we use that term.
Yeah.
I mean, they outlawed the celebration of Christmas in Salem because it was people were having too much fun. They were enjoying themselves too much.
Yeah.
So it was about several different things. So when I said I had ancestral ties to Salem, I do, and I actually have an ancestor who was accused of witchcraft, and she was held in the dungeon for over a year. And luckily, before her trial came up, that was when they kind of disbanded the witch trials and got rid of it. So she got out lucky, but I mean, she was still held in the dungeon, which was miserable for a year.
Sorry, was that a grandparent of yours?
It was a grandmother.
So
like great, I mean, like 9 times back.
You wouldn't be here if she got burned at the stake.
I think, yeah, I guess not.
There you go.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. But so yeah, it's I don't think I had to, I don't know about. I mean, there are still witches that are persecuted. I don't think that it would have anything to do with the cabal, because if we think about it, a lot of people have a lot of different theories about the cabal, and a lot of them kind of involve satanic ritual. So they wouldn't have anything against witches because a lot of people associate witchcraft with that as well, even though it's not. A lot of people associate it. So I don't think that it would have anything to do with that. Personally, it's just my opinion.
Oh,
hi, UFO man.
Who's that?
UFO man said hi.
Hey, UFO man. Oh yeah, there you are. Hey, buddy. I just want to go to more questions. If
no worries.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Question.
Always good questions.
My daughter does crystals and astrology. She keeps up with all the time. Sorry, Lynn.
No worries. Yes, Lord, in depth. You're right. Waxing and waning is what they call the moon phases.
I was just
getting smaller, obviously.
Yeah. Lynn, do you consider Luna a goddess? I
do.
Okay. Yes. Can you explain that to me?
Well, it depends on what they mean by Luna. Luna is usually referred to as the moon, and the moon is a very feminine energy. The sun is a very masculine energy. And I'm a big believer in kind of what we believe, especially if large groups of us believe something, that it is sort of born into reality. We create our own reality in that sense. So kind of like the Slender Man phenomenon, where a lot of people came, they heard the story, it started circulating on the web or whatever it was. And now people are claiming that they're seeing the Slender Man. Well, that's what I would call a thought form, a tulpa, or an egregore. And so I think a lot of these gods and goddesses may be the same thing. And I could be completely wrong. They could be aliens. It could be going with the ancient alien theory. But this is just my thought on it, is these types of deities are real. They do exist because people believe in them. So therefore they exist. That's interesting. But yes, I love the moon. I love working with the moon. I don't necessarily treat the moon as a goddess, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not getting many questions here then.
I think I saw one up further. I'm trying to remember what it was about. If one of you guys summoned, it was a witchcraft question. If you asked it and we didn't see it, ask it again. Because there was one that I was going to point out to you, and now I can't remember what it was. Sorry, I'm not taking over. Tim's doing fantastic.
No, come on.
No, you were doing great. It's not easy. I
take it when I can get it.
Yeah, you're doing awesome.
Oh, somebody at Spaced Out Radio asked if Ryan has shaved yet. So
it's probably Dave. If it says Spaced Out Radio, it's Dave.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for watching.
Hi, Dave Scott. Dave's awesome.
So, I just have one comment here about shadow work.
Oh, yes, that's what it was. Thank you,
Yeah,
Lord of the
okay.
Depths.
Yeah.
Shadow work. She was asking, do I think shadow work is, I think, beneficial or helpful?
If you could explain what it is.
Yep.
And then maybe go into the helpfulness or.
Yes, absolutely. So shadow work is nothing more than looking at the darker sides of ourselves, and we all have them. So maybe those are emotions we haven't processed, that we've repressed, or maybe it's doubts that we have about ourselves, insecurities, any of those things that we would maybe call more negative emotions. That would be kind of working through those would be shadow work. And yes, absolutely, I think shadow work is beneficial. It is not easy, but it doesn't have to be extremely difficult as well. You can do it over time. It all doesn't have to be accomplished at once. But from a psychological perspective and from a witch perspective, it is absolutely beneficial because you're going to clear your mind in either way and learn to be, more assertive and more assured of who you are as a human being. Okay. So in any way, it's going to be good. Absolutely.
So what are you pinpointing in shadow work?
It depends on the person. So say, let's say I had an insecurity about my abilities to come off as a great host on the weekends on Space Out Radio. Let's say that's one of my insecurities. That would be something that I would then in shadow work, you would work on. So you would journal, you would look, kind of, when you hear somebody say, look within yourself to really work on these things, that's all it is. It's simply that. And there's just different ways of doing it. You can do techniques like we were talking about with writing things out and burning them to release them. Some people will go into the ocean to cleanse themselves. And it's just all very focused intent and working through that to understand, one, why it is you're feeling that way, and two, to let it go.
To let it go. Okay. Yeah. So this would be a good lead into your regression therapy work. Can we talk about that?
Sure.
It was suggested that I should do regression therapy. I'm hesitant.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like the thought. Again, it's never really been explained to me, but I don't like the thought of giving myself up to somebody else's control. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Hypnotism or whatever, or regression, or there's the confusion.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can straighten it out, Lynn.
Yeah. So one, you're never giving yourself up. You are always in control. So with hypnosis, think of it as, it's not like what you would see kind of in the movies around, 1, 2, 3, you're out, and they're just like clucking like a chicken. It's not like that. It's more of a light trance state. So you're usually, depending on the person, some people tend to just naturally go in deeper, but I would say 95% of the people are completely aware the entire time. And in fact, sometimes you have to say, don't judge what's coming through, just let it come through, because you can see them processing it as they're saying it. Yeah. So you're always in control. The hypnotist, and yes, get a certified hypnotist, get someone who's had experience. Make sure you do your research on the person as well. But the hypnotist is simply there to guide the experience. And I would say if you are hesitant or you're not sure, don't do it. You're not ready. It may not work, because if you're hesitant at all, you have to be open to the experience in order to be hypnotized in the first place. And if you have hesitation or you're worried about it, you're just simply not ready, and that's okay. It's just, you're not there in your journey yet, and that's totally fine.
So is regression and hypnotherapy or hypnosis, are they similar or the same?
It's the same thing. It's just the type. Yeah. So basically, hypnosis is simply, relaxing the mind and taking it to a different state of relaxation. That's all hypnosis truly is. Regression is simply the act of going back to regain or to relive a memory. You're actually not reliving it. That's the wrong word to use. You can observe the memory. You never want to actually relive something that might be potentially traumatic. So you're going back in time to observe what happened, and then you're reporting it. So that's all regression really is. Hypnosis certainly can be used for a lot of different things, to quit cigarette smoking, or there's a bunch of different things you can use.
Quit smoking and stuff. So what do we do with the information from a regression session? What
you have to process it. I mean, I personally have had 2 regressions done, and it's been 7 years of me getting to the point where I'm ready to to do more. So and everybody's different. I mean, I definitely would recommend don't do them back to back. Take the time to process the information, because there are going to be feelings that are going to come up. There are going to be, and even if those feelings, and for me personally, like I'm one of those people that like, yes, even though my world is ingrained in the paranormal, I also have a very rational side. Right. So for me, like having like what came out in mine was the absolute last thing that I ever wanted it to be, which was secret space program. The moment I came out, I was like, no, no, no. But then again, once you've opened those memories, they feel like very, very real memories.
Right.
And so, with me personally, and I can't speak, oh my gosh, such a cute kitty. Everybody's experience is different. But for me, it's been 7 years of, did that really happen? How, but it feels very real. But then my rational side is like, I don't know, and it's just like processing that information and the feelings that are going to come up, because there are going to be emotions that are going to be associated with that, whatever it is that you might see.
Right. Do you get repressed memories? Would regression bring up repressed? Yes. In my mind, that's your mind putting it away, because
that is true.
And as a matter of fact, dissociative personality disorder, or what that is in itself a defense mechanism.
It is. You're absolutely right.
Our mind's defense mechanism.
Right.
So I've filed it away. Okay.
Yeah.
I purposely filed it away. Can regression or hypnosis pull that out?
Yes, that's exactly what it does. But that's why you need someone who knows what they're doing. Okay. Because the first thing that I would always say, and I don't really practice like regression anymore. I'm doing the show and everything. Like I just don't have time to do it, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
But the one thing that I would always start to say, and any therapist who's going to be good at what they're doing, is basically you kind of ask your higher self, or that person's higher self, not to give them any information that they aren't going to be able to handle at this point in time. So you're putting that layer of protection down, because their higher self is them. It's like their higher consciousness. That's all it is. So you're putting that layer of kind of like that baseline down of like, okay, we're not going to get into anything that we can't handle at this point in time. And then if something does become emotional for the person who's being regressed, the therapist can then say, okay, we're going to take a step back. Remember, you're an observer. You don't have to relive this. You can separate yourself from the emotion. So there are techniques that we can use that kind of alleviate that. But that's why I say don't do it if you have any like reservations, because it's not going to work. And two, even if it does work by some chance, you may have a more extreme reaction than, say, someone who was ready to find out those experiences, because you have to be ready to say, like, maybe nothing will come up. And some people will have that reaction of like disappointment that nothing really came out. Yeah. Or maybe something will come up, like for me, that you completely didn't expect and was the last thing you ever wanted. Right. And now you have to process that information.
Right. So it's not, you can't pinpoint certain, like, okay, I want to go try to remember when I was 5 and
yeah, you can.
So you can actually pin. So the crux of my problem is back. It's not my. I'm just an example. The crux of my problem happened when I was 12, and it happened with so and so. This is where I want to go and deal with it. So you can actually pick and choose.
Yes, you can try. And again, it's always the person is always still in control. Your mind is always still in control. Right. And remember, the mind is a very powerful thing. And so if you're not ready, you won't receive the information. But yeah, you can definitely try. And you want to make sure that the therapist isn't leading you, but that they're guiding you. So I could say to you, okay, Tim, like if you're in a relaxed state, you're under hypnosis, I could say, Tim, okay, let's go back to the day when you were 12 that really made a difference in your life, and make it vague, but make it specific. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not leading you like, let's go back to the day where you think you might've seen aliens. Like I wouldn't say that. Yeah. So you want to take them to a specific point, but not lead them anywhere.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. It's interesting because it's just that open door in the mind. That's what concerns me.
That's all you're doing is you're opening the door to kind of take a peek and see what it was. Yeah.
Now
you're bringing that memory back.
You've talked about using divination tools that you don't necessarily use them.
I use pendulums. I don't use them all the time, but yeah, I'll use a pendulum. I have no problem with that.
I have a specific question about the Ouija board.
Okay.
Do you find that do you find it a dangerous thing? that type.
I think it's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, okay, and not necessarily the Ouija board. I'm not against the Ouija board. What I'm against is people just grabbing stuff like that and opening doors that they have no idea what they're opening. Now,
Absolutely. Ouija,
it's just a good example, and it was a great movie too.
Yeah,
but.
yeah. No, that's true. I mean, a pendulum, and that's the thing. I think that's a good point, though. That's something people don't realize. They may think like, oh, well, pendulum, it's just a pendulum. You know, it's a little think, wait, it's not a Ouija board. Everybody has the association with the Ouija board, but pendulum, scrying, any type of divination can potentially open doorways. So you always, once again, you always have to educate yourself before you do these things and learn how to go about properly opening it, but also properly closing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's, you don't think of closing.
Right.
You think of, okay, I've just opened this. Oh, let's go watch the movie. You have, and this door is left open.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to do. I've done it with my pendulum plenty of times. I'd be like, oh, crap. Just go back and close it, but or cleanse the house and put up another layer of protection. But so, I mean, even for people who've done it, it's easy to especially with something like a pendulum, which is like, yes, no, okay, cool. Got an answer. And that's, you don't think much more about it. So that's why I always try to stress to people, understand that you are opening doorways of communication. And once you open it, you do need to close it.
And I think it's important too. It doesn't matter what you're using; it's your intentions and your thoughts and your feelings. Yeah. At the time that you're doing it.
Yeah, they're all tools for the same purpose.
What about other things like tarot cards and we can get into all that the dark tools or not?
I don't consider tarot cards dark tools.
Sorry, that word just came out and I'm demon guy. So, what do you think of tarot? What do you think of the other rune stones and
I think they're all great tools if you know how to use them. Tarot is an incredibly complex system, and I just don't have the patience to learn it. So I use oracle cards, which is kind of like tarot for dummies, So I have no problems.
Cards in the deck? Is that like this?
It depends on the deck. Some decks, it just depends on the oracle card deck, but it's very simplistic. It'll be it'll have a picture on it like a tarot card will, depending on what the deck is, and different decks are different themed. But then it usually says something at the bottom like, trust in yourself or not at this moment, or, so it kind of gives you a little idea of what the card is about, or, what you think is true, or, I'm using very, very vague things, but usually they're a tad more specific.
That's on oracle cards. I've seen the difference, or the different decks. But the tarot are more traditional.
Yes, tarot is definitely more traditional. But again, it's a very complex system. It takes years to really learn how to do it properly.
So the pendulum is pretty much all that you have used?
No, I use oracle cards all the time.
Oh, sorry, you said that. Yeah.
I've used oracle cards. I've used scrying. I've used the pendulum. I have a Ouija board, but I don't ever use it because my daughter's terrified of it. So it's just really decoration in our house. It's never been used.
Somebody commented that there's a pink one for kids. Yeah. Like the pink Ouija board for 2-year-olds. That was Stacy's comment. That was, and that's the thing. The divination tools get watered down because of marketing, because of Hollywood, because obviously The Exorcist was a breakthrough movie on that topic. Yeah, but it's a 2 hours long or an hour and a half long. You can't teach someone to be an exorcist, right? Although people watching it think they are. Yeah. And so it's just interesting that, and sometimes I'll get on Facebook about Ouija boards, and it's not necessarily the Ouija board. Right. No, it's not. It's just a tool. That's the tool. It's your intentions and it's your knowledge of the tool. I mean, the best one that I have and use, and I use it for making decisions at work. Ryan's listening. He'll appreciate this. I have a magic 8-ball. Oh, nice. So I shake it. Yeah. Is this guy, am I firing him today? And then it'll come back later. So it calms me down. Yeah. I'm sorry. No, but you know what? It's true. That can work for you. If you believe that it does, it can. I know. I don't. Guys, if you're listening, I'm not going to fire you based on my magic 8-ball. It gives me some ideas at times. So, yeah. Well, Sorry.
It would be great if you did.
Yeah, no, that's business stuff. That's really kind of neat. So, I'm not sure where we're going here, Lynn.
That's okay.
I'm just gonna check the comments.
The 8-ball. Ryan's enjoying that.
Oh, what did he? The 8-ball. Yeah. Well, he knows. He couldn't believe when I ordered it. He couldn't believe I was ordering an 8-ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not many people know, but
even a demonologist can have a sense of humor. It's fine.
You know what? You have to.
You do. You can't be serious all the time. You gotta have some levity.
And like I get reports, and I'm sure you do too. You get the stories that are tragic, and the people that are reaching out for help. Yeah. But unfortunately, in this day and age with the internet and stuff, I'm not sure that you can do witchcraft. Well, maybe you can through the internet. I'm not 100% positive I could do an exorcism through Zoom. I don't. Yeah,
no, I wouldn't. Witchcraft is a little different because you're basically just sending and receiving energy. Okay. So you could do it. I could be sending energy out into the cosmos. It's just your intent of where it's going.
Yeah, I just think the treatment needs that personal.
I agree. I think an exorcism is a little different because you are definitely. I mean, look, I have worked with demons, but I'm going to be absolutely in agreement with you that there are some nasty ones out there, and it is battle to deal with them.
Yeah. Well, it's their intent, and their invitation is always negative. Okay, right. Like the invitation to alcoholism, for example. Mm-hmm. Your very first drink as a blooming alcoholic is very innocent.
Yes,
it's probably very enjoyable.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's the end for the demons. And it could be years before you're full blown alcoholic.
Yeah.
But their intentions, their temptations, you know what I mean, like that, their direction. So the introduction of that stronghold or whatever.
Yeah. Or I could see it also as they see the capability of that person becoming, say, an alcoholic. And so once that energy is being released, when they're in the full blown alcoholism or addiction or whatever it is, that's when they're coming, to kind of feed upon that energy. Yeah. So, I'm not sure how it happens, but I find I'm weird. I find the more negative ones just as fascinating. Oh, nice.
Is Ryan really the nice guy he thinks? Now I can't read it because I don't have my glasses.
Oh no! We'll never know if Ryan's nice.
Yeah, no, it says ask again later. Okay, so
the ball's being diplomatic.
Yeah, I think so. Where was I going with all this, Lynn?
What's that?
I forget where I was going with all this.
We were talking about.
Here's all I'm going to say, and you talk about spells and curses and stuff. Curses are broken when they're broken. Okay, so you discover the curse, and I'm talking my end of stuff, but so it's the long-term effect. Okay, that's where you get into the psychology, and and I use alcoholism because I'm very familiar with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. The doorway or that invitation, like I said, it can be very innocent and all that kind of stuff, but it grows. Okay, so you've got a guy, let's say 30 years, hard alcohol drinker. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can break that curse in a second by identifying it, renouncing it, or doing, but let's talk about that extended bout of alcoholism.
Yeah.
Nothing happens in a snap.
Well, I talked about that too because I used to do addictions counseling as well. So, but there's several different levels of addiction that are going to affect a person.
Right.
So whether it, maybe they have some sort of demonic influence or attachment, that's going to be one level that you have to deal with. And there's a lot of psychological components that are going to be involved here. And that's why addiction is so difficult to overcome. So you're going to have that kind of dependency on this, I feel terrible. This makes me feel better. It's an easy fix. Everybody wants that, as opposed to really working through the hard emotions. It's not as easy. Then you also have the trauma of having been an alcoholic for 40 years and everything that comes along with that, the difficulties you've had in your life, your career, your family, anything, maybe DUIs, any of those things. So you have so many multiple layers to work through when you have something like that, that I think the demonic attachment or whatever may be there. And I'm not saying that everyone who's an addict has a demonic attachment. It's just one component of all of it.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that's why I want to discuss it with yourself, because and I try to put that through in what I write, and again, like I say, I prefer the reality, the reports. And as I said, I've had my experiences, you've had your experiences. So I'm not denying the experiences.
Yeah.
But it's the sudden, I need it fixed.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, well, it might have, in the past, there might've been those miracles that somebody snapped their finger and they were fixed.
But you're still going to have those psychological issues you got to work through.
Exactly.
Yeah. So still, there's no quick, easy fix that is immediate.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Then you're hired.
Thanks, Ryan.
He's really loving this producer thing.
You're doing great. It's not easy. It's a lot of multitasking.
Well, I'm trying to do the comments because I want to involve, but.
No, it's great. That's why I always like having comments on my show too.
Yeah, our friend Lured in Depths is an addictions counselor.
Oh, nice. So see, that's why we agree on so many things.
Yeah.
And I would say Lord in the Depths might also be a witch based on some of the things she said.
Yeah, well,
at least familiar with the practice.
Yeah.
But it's funny because a lot of people, once they find out what witchcraft actually is, they're like, oh, okay. Like, it seems so, like, to use the term magical and mystical, but it's really not that big a deal. It's really nothing, like people think it is a lot of the time. Yes, there's ritual. Yes, there's some things that, like, you can make, like, do things with a lot of flourish. It's not necessary. It's all, like I said, it's all in your head. All magic is mental. So it can seem very magical and mystical, but it's just intent. It's focusing your intent. That's all it actually is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got my stuff, my crosses and my stuff that I intentionally use because it means something.
Yes.
Right? It means something to me. You've got, crystal ball. See this witches and and cauldrons. And I got all the pictures up here, Lynn.
Well, you know what? We do use those things too. We do use those things. Hey, Grandmaster. In fact.
Oh, well, please.
See, we do have cauldrons. It's my incense burner, but it's still a cauldron.
It's a cauldron, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's cool. Good. Yeah. So, all right, we do have a good question here.
Yeah. But just for example,
okay, hang on, I'll get rid of that.
Oh, right. Okay. But just as a good example of how witches really aren't that like scary, this is my altar here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's got a candle, it's got a cauldron, it's got a couple other things, but
and you have an ET directly above it.
I do. Well, it's like, it's cosmic witchcraft. That's what else I practice. I bring the ETs into it. Actually, I do. Oh. I do work with the ETs as well.
That's interesting. You can talk about that if you like.
If you want to. But I know Ryan had a question. Do we want to?
Well, okay.
And then we can talk about that. Yeah.
This cognitive behavior therapy.
Yes, it absolutely can. So basically, cognitive behavioral therapy is just looking at the way we think about things and having that affect our behavior. So the way we respond, the things that we do. Cognitive behavioral is actually what I specialized in. So wonderful question, Ryan. Yes, it can help the experiencers without removing belief in the phenomenon. So it can help them process things. So say they start thinking about their experience and now all of a sudden they're starting to get anxiety. So you can look at, well, what is the process between the thought, the memory coming to mind? What happened in between that and the anxiety? What was it that they were thinking? What is it that they're telling themselves? Because we're always telling ourselves things, right? So if you look at it in that sense, it can help remove the trauma. It can help not remove it, but it helps them learn to deal with it and process it. So you can help with the more negative side of it, but also they can still believe in it. It happened to them. They're going to believe in it.
So that's CBT.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Chantel just said I have a witch archetype. Can you explain?
Jim has a witch archetype.
Is this a witch joke, Chantel?
No. I'm not sure, but I like it. I think maybe you're like a little more witchy than you realize.
Oh, maybe I am. That could be scary. I don't know.
Nah.
Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. I'm pushing buttons, Lynn, that I don't know.
It's all right. It's fun. We'll see what happens.
Hi, Angela. Angela just joined us. She's on the phone.
Hey, Angela. Plants cloak me in the astral so I can hide from the bad guys. Absolutely. Plants are amazing. They're the best.
Why do they die, Lynn?
Well, it's all part of the cycle of life, Tim.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Hey, I can
or
kill
you
a
just don't water them. I've done that
killed-
plenty of times too.
I killed cactuses and from not watering them because
Well, I have several.
I thought you weren't supposed to water them.
Yeah.
I'm told that I'm wrong.
That's all right. I've killed a cactus before, so don't feel bad. I mean, how does that happen? They're made to go without water.
I've got one that's recovered. It's all brown and crusty on top, but it's got solid roots.
Well, you know what you need? You need a Rose of Jericho. Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
They're amazing. It's basically it's a plant that kind of curls up in and on itself. It looks like a ball almost, and it's all brown on the outside. But they can survive for years and years and years. And all you do is you place them in some water, and whoop, they open up, and all of a sudden they're green again. And when they dry out, they close back up again. That's why it's called the Rose of Jericho.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's great. You can't ever kill them.
I
It's
can't
awesome.
kill it.
Nope.
Guarantee.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you overwater it, you can.
I'm not gonna hold you to any guarantees. The plant in my place and the demons just.
Oh. Hey, you know what? Some demons like plants too.
Yeah.
Tim.
Well,
Come on now.
Plants give us air, so
That's true.
I enjoy having.
Everybody likes plants, even demons.
Keep them away because I'll kill them. Oh yeah, Lured and Depth says the same thing.
Yeah. You can't see it, but there's a whole jungle on this side, and I think
Perfect.
2 of them are almost dead.
Yeah. I took care of plants once, and none died. So
Yeah.
I am capable of doing it. But
Good job. Nicely done.
so
But-
back to being a witch.
Yes.
not a gardener.
Hey, some people would call me a green witch. There are different types of witches.
Dream witch?
Green, as in the color green.
We had that question earlier.
Yeah, because that's basically just a witch who works with loves plants, works with plants, works with herbs.
Herbs
I have
and
those are all essential oils up in there, which
Okay.
a lot of them are derived from plants, obviously. So,
I'll ask you about mushrooms.
what about them?
Do you use them?
As in like recipes, or
for anything?
you can. I haven't personally used them, but
No.
like
Okay.
you mean as in like psychedelic mushrooms, or
Oh no.
No, I don't do that.
No, that's not legal. So
don't do that. But you can. I mean, mushrooms are plants. Mushrooms are fascinating. It's a good question. I've never actually even thought to use mushrooms.
they decompose everything. They bring everything back into the earth, like the whole process. And I just thought herbal type stuff. I do have a family member just recently diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the urge, to do spells and and to get into all this and do that.
But you know what? It's never going to hurt, because that is basically the same thing as a prayer.
Exactly. Well, I was going there. Okay.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that there are frauds out there that will say, we can cure cancer.
Nobody can cure. No witch can cure cancer. Don't fall for that, please. Anybody?
No. Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
If anybody says they can cure you of anything, don't believe them.
Yeah, and I've had the discussion. There are the discussions about demons and causing disease and all that kind of stuff. Potentially, that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Curses. Somebody could have cursed somebody somewhere.
Yeah, it could have cursed their health or anything.
Yeah. So, then back to reality. Our way of treating that is medic.
Yeah. Or also in combination with medicine, the best way to break a curse is get another witch.
Get to break the curse.
To break the curse.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. Or a demonologist.
Or a demonologist.
Just saying.
Same thing, different routes.
Routes. Yeah. So working with spirits and demons, we're back to that.
Yes.
Okay. Talk about negative. It was a question. Talk about negative spirits and demons.
Okay.
Like we're not calling negative demons. Like the books I read, there's a lot of negative demons. How do you determine other than experience?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how would you I can give you stories about Lilith or whatever, particular demons.
See, that's interesting because the witches would not consider Lilith a demon. Lilith is a goddess to the witches.
Okay. That's where I didn't want to get in, and I won't. That's again, we're back to what you consider your higher power or your potential, or So I don't have a problem with knowledgeable people asking the right questions to the right entities, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's the word you can use.
Well, again, if they're knowledgeable, they know the risks they're taking, and they're grown adults, hopefully, and can do whatever they want. They can take the risk if they want to.
Yeah. So what kind of risk are they taking?
It depends, again, on how you approach it, and as you said, whether or not you're knowledgeable. So, working with some, I wouldn't see. So I don't know. This might sound strange, but I only work with there's one kind of over time. There's one main demon that I work with. And you do want to kind of build a personal relationship with them, because in my experience with them is that, we have such animosity towards them as a species. We people, they've been demonized, to purposely use the word. And so there is hesitation. So you kind of have to build that rapport with them. But how do you know whether it's a good entity or a bad entity? I would say develop your intuition before you even start to try to work with them. Develop learn to trust your gut, because if you walk into a room where there's a more negative entity, you feel it physically. Yeah. You get nauseous, you anxious, that there's something there that is negatively affecting you physically. So that is always a good indicator of time to back up and move on. Don't want to talk to you. Thank you very much. You can leave. But you cannot have fear. You cannot have fear. You always remain in control, and never, ever, ever, ever. And this is the thing, and you've probably seen this too with demonolatry. Never, ever think that you have to sell your soul or make a contract to work with a demon. You absolutely do not. And don't do it. It's your soul. It's yours. Keep it. Yeah. Because that is absolutely just inviting a demon in to wreak havoc on your life.
Yeah. And that's my pet peeve. Is people doing something that they don't know the end result or
right. And a lot of it is just simply that, ignorance. And I don't say that in a judgmental way, just simply that they just don't realize what they're getting themselves into.
Right. So the education, the paranormal field, the education level is very low. Yeah. In this field, because being a pseudoscience, we're getting a lot of opinions and a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I look for stuff that works. Right. Yeah. So, and people that are experienced like yourself, then I would ask you the questions or for the direction. There's not enough of that. Yeah. There's not enough help for the experiencers who are doing, are having these experiences, and then they're like, what do I do?
Yeah, that's true.
What do I do? And then if the help isn't available and they do the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and it leads them down a path, a negative path. So those are my concerns. Yeah. And reaching out to people like yourself in a totally, you're in a different, we're in the paranormal field. Yeah. But we are our education can butt heads.
Yeah.
Not, and I like to look at the intention, and I like to look at the person.
Yeah.
Because the experiencers that we get are obviously individuals and people. It's interesting to watch them grow in the groups, like experiencer groups. So, but there's not enough out there. We need more.
No,
we need more.
That's true.
EAs on Saturday. We're even talking about adding more.
Yeah.
Because of the response we've been getting. So
yeah, no, it's definitely absolutely needed for sure. And I think, you're right, especially if we're talking about, say, something like, someone who has a negative attachment. Like, as a witch, yes, I can intercede from a distance, but I also believe you need to be, you have that in-person interaction with someone like yourself. Yeah. You use those two in combination, absolutely that could work. But there's not enough people that physically can maybe come see all of the people that need help, and that's unfortunate.
That's part two of the requests that I get is they're across the ocean. They can't help it. They have to find somebody local, but there's not those local people aren't available.
Yeah, it's tough.
So, Lynn, we're getting to the end of our show. Where can people find you?
They can. Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
Where and when?
They could find me Spaced Out Radio on YouTube every weekend. I do the Saturday and Sunday night shows. We're spacedoutradio.com, or Instagram, I think it's Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also find me on Twitter at Witchy Linny, Witchy with a Y, Linny with an I-E, as all of our audience member hears me say all of the time. Also, I'm on Facebook. But anywhere you can find Spaced Out Radio, you can find me.
Perfect. Spaced Out Radio, folks.
Yep.
I think that's the end, Lynn. Unless do you have something else? Our time is we got about 4 minutes.
Let's see. Learn the Depths didn't know I just spaced out. Yes, I do. I'm the weekend host, so come see me. Yeah. But I think you did a fantastic job, Tim. You handled it beautifully.
Thank you. I was just commenting that you're a very good host as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're a great guest as well. Hi,
fired.
Ryan.
He's not fired.
What?
He's not going to fire me.
Good. He did a great job.
Is Tim
going to see if I'm lying?
No, I'm going to see if I got a job in the morning.
Right. The final question of the night.
Oh, guess what? It says yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're fired, or yes, you have a job. Which one did you ask?
The question I asked was whether I have a job.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, too bad I didn't have my Oracle cards. I could have pulled one for you.
Oh, okay. Next time.
Yes, next time I'll have them with me. Now, I think the main overarching theme of all of this is people educate yourselves.
Right.
Know what you're getting into, and if you don't, ask someone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You guys have a great audience too.
They are a great audience. I've lost track of them. But
completely lost track. Okay, well, I'm just going to say goodnight to everyone that is listening. This is the first ever technical error show we've ever had. 3 seasons, episode number 29. So, and I really appreciate the fact that that you guys made it work. And good job, Timmy, and good job, everybody. And I will see you guys on Monday for my noon video. And Experiencers Anonymous is on Saturday at 2 p.m. And Lynn, we're probably going to send Tim after you to talk about cognitive behavior therapy a little bit more in depth, because I got some ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might be able to help me rule out some of that stuff.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, definitely let's talk. I can help you with that.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky. Heed the world, and say it.
Be careful out there.
There you go, Timmy. Good job, Timmy.
Thanks, Lynn.
there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, where together, my friends, we own the night. On our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a place called the SOR Sightlines Report. All of our investigations and people who inquire are turned over to TESSA, the Experiencer Support Association. Ryan Stacy and his crew, what I like about them, they're independent. They're not working for anybody.